Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Poems I Love. My name is Servio Gbadamosi, your regular host on this podcast. I hope that with each new episode of The Poems I Love, that we are getting to introduce you more and more to poems by different poets from across Nigeria and beyond, and that you're going on to read some of these poems. That with each edition of, with each new episode of the podcast, The Poems I Love, that you're going on to, read some of these poems and poets for yourself so that you can enjoy their works on a larger and greater scale. Today, I have with me an anthology of poems edited by Jumoke, Verissimo, and James Yeku, titled Sorosoke, an Answers Anthology. Sorosoke, an Answers Anthology, edited by Jumoke, Verissimo, and James Yeku. Now, this anthology is a real-time archive of poetic thoughts and responses to the Answers movement. The first poem I will be reading is from page 21 of the book, and it is written by Jumoke Verissimo. It is titled, Nigeria Will Not End Me. How could we not have known that our land drinks only young blood? We ask for bread, it gives us stone. We ask to live, it takes our breath. We stand up tall, it cuts our legs. We sit wearily, it shoots us down. Don't we know it already? Don't we? To age in this land is to arrive in a grave. Of course, the title, Nigeria Will Not End Me, were the final words tweeted by Okechukwu Obi Ehanduze before his death. He was one of the protesters who was present at the Lekki toll gate on the night of October 2020. And he was live on the protest ground, tweeting and reporting and sharing updates on his Twitter account, as it was then called. It's now called X. It was called Twitter back then. And we lost him to the shootings of that night. So it's his final words, his final tweet before he was gunned down by the agents of state that night were, Nigeria will not end me. And that aptly captures the question that Jumoke Verissimo explored in the first poem that I just read from this collection. The second poem I'll be taking from this anthology, Sorosoke, an Answers Anthology, is titled A Short History of Things at the Base by Tosin, Gbogi. And the poem opens with a quotation from Derek Walcott. Some sorrows are like stones, and they never melt. That's a quote from Derek Walcott, opening the poem, A Short History of Things at the Base by Tosin Gbogi. At the heart of this republic is a mound, a termites mountain of sand, its spare, high like Babel's tenacious will, a collective action to live, but called to doom by Mr. Everything sinks here. Dreams, diligence, and design, and whatever is left is eaten up by the monstrous might of man. Like salt in the anus of earthworm, what passes for life is a mere vision of death. A flannel death walks the streets, its gaze wide and wondrous. It fumbles through the tyranny of sound, a litany of chaos stitched together by prayers, fantasies, vigils, and fasting through the tyranny of light. All things, only Him, holy, 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 holy. Candles all white, incense all black. Ask God for the impossible. The field here belongs to man. Haunted by the flesh of slaves, its roses of death bloom in the name of a past, a peculiar present that repeats the future. Yet, no one seems to see. Focused on the hunch, we forget that the trouble began at the base. Focused on the hunch, we forget that the trouble began at the base. The next poem is titled Retrospection by Gbenga Adeoba. Retrospection by Gbenga Adeoba. And this poem also opens with a quotation from Oke's final words as contained in that tweet: Nigeria will not end me. I have begun with a delineation of ruins, noting first that the crows seem to have claimed a permanent perch here. To write differently would require a truth thought and cloistered, or denying the figures teeming on the wrong side of the ledger. Having known the infirmities and mystery that tangles the nation, there are flocks of young people in flight, headed west, gregarious birds who must trust winds elsewhere to lift their burdens. We will build this country from afar, they say, tweeting notes and scars, embodied notes on sully moments. They trade police encounters that crankled the door ajar. Even Lugard and his woman must share in their ladled cause. In transit or nested abroad, the emigre, an alien now, might recall that week in October and the litany of names, all dead or missing. They might shudder, as I do too, remembering the tweet, a life made brief and dreams shattered beyond. The second to the last poem that I will be reading from this anthology, Sorosoke, and Enters Anthology, edited by Jumoke, Verissimo, and James Yeku, is titled The Lover Speaks of Bullets by Oyetunji. The Lover Speaks of Bullets by Oyetunji. Ultimately, we will lose each other, you and I, strangers like we never loved before. Shared shit, dreams, we will lose each other, but if we must, not to atlas and atlas souls, corpse with no fitting caps, let not our gods of hope be shattered by wanton bullets. Let not our names be chanted by arid gullets of men swinging scarlet flags and singing doleful hymns to gunshot rhythms. For we are heroes in love, for we are lovers in a war zone. For we are heroes in love, for we are lovers in a war zone. Okay, so the final poem I will be sharing today from the anthology Sorosoke and Ensas Anthology is titled A Slum Dweller's Testimony, and it's written by Servio Gbadamosi. It's written by me. This is one of the 2 poems I contributed to this anthology. A Slum Dweller's Testimony by Servio Gbadamosi. I carry death with me in a sacred pouch slung over my shoulders. I become driftwood, embracing the winds of the Lagos Lagoon. Nigeria surrounds me with lies, deceit. I am that which the rabid dog vomited. mangled, torn in this wild country where dignity is order on a dump site for stray dogs and the hog. A wine drinker mourns the vine grower and the dresser too. Harmattan sucks life from seeds before they are eaten, and the Sahara warmly drains the Atlantic, snapping its crackling cradle. I denounce you, Nigeria. I spit in your bargained face and give your constitution to a dung fire. I denounce you, Nigeria. I spit in your bargained face and give your constitution to a dung fire. My certificated fears, your passport too, your scheming apostates to the stakes. The darkness engulfs you, unwrapping your onion-like flesh, spinning your spine out like a debris. Oh shit. The darkness engulfs you, unwrapping your onion-like flesh, spinning your spine out like a debris-filled flash flood. You must learn to make love to it. This new self of yours. These are poems that have been particularly difficult for me to read. They were difficult back then in the year 2020 when we were working on this collection of poems, because it was published by our firm Noirledge Publishing in the year 2022. They were difficult to read back then because the events that inspired the poems in this anthology were still fresh in one's memory back then. And it's a diary. For me, I see it as a sort of diary of the events that happened that year, but not just of the events that happened in the year 2020 that led or necessitated the end police brutality, end SARS, end police brutality protest and movement across the nation. It's the story that I and countless other Nigerians have heard, have experienced all through our lives. There's not one person who does not have stories of police brutality to tell. I am yet to meet that person in Nigeria who does not have at least one story of police brutality to tell. Either police brutality or injustice that they have experienced personally, or that somebody close to them, their family member, their relation, their friend, has had to go through. It's sad that this is 2025. This is about 5 years since the protests against police brutality. It is sad because if you look at our society today, not much has changed since then. Because even though the SARS squad, the SARS team was eventually disbanded as a result of those protests, the experience of the average Nigerian on the street shows that the emperor was just given new clothes. The injustice still persists. Young people are harassed daily by the agents of state that are meant to protect them. They are harassed, they are victimized, some of them arrested and jailed on trumped up charges. And for how long? When we bring up important conversations like this about the state of things in our country, those conversations easily degenerate, because what then happens is we lose sight of the conversation of the topic of debate. It degenerates into different camps and groups, different interests, one political party against the other, one tribe against the other, one religion against the other. But outside of those debates, outside of those conversations that we fail to have, outside of those conversations that are sponsored or financed by the same cabals, by the same people, by the same political and ruling class who have seen to it that this country, 5 decades after independence, is still underdeveloped. Outside of all of that, when we go out as average citizens, we experience and see these things on a daily basis. We are living witnesses to them. And that is one of the beauty of art. That is one of the beauty of literature, of poetry. It not only imagines, it not only questions, it also records. It also documents. And these 46 poets have written and preserved the movements, the events that led to that movement, and the things that happened post that movement to us. They've recorded it here for posterity. You can see through all the poems that I have read. Yes, you can say they are hungry. There's anger, there's frustration, there's hopelessness, there's disillusionment, because they want a better country. They want a country that works. They want, even those ones who have, as contained in, as seen in, for example, Gbenga Adeoba's contribution to the anthology. Even when you leave the country never leaves you. You take the country everywhere you go. It follows you. It's an albatross hanging on your neck. Nigerians at home or abroad want a country that is good, that works, that is better for everybody. And that is what the hopes and the frustrations of that is what has been captured in this collection. So I hope that you go find it yourself and you read it and get to experience the thoughts and the poems contained in the contributions that the 46 poets featured in this anthology have put together. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of The Poems I Love. We will see you in the next one.